For the last year, masks have become a part of our identity.
I think it's going to be a process for everybody to get used to the idea that in some situations, if you're fully vaccinated, then you don't have to wear a mask.
And that's what the CDC is suggesting. Folks who are fully vaccinated can go back to doing activities they did pre-pandemic without a mask and without social distancing. Guidance Dr. Michael Teng, an associate professor of medicine at USF Health, isn't quite sure of.
The guidance seems to be sort of in a bit of a vacuum.
He says in an ideal world, only people who are fully vaccinated would ditch the masks. But he says that's just not the case in the real world. And he says don't forget about those who can't get vaccinated. But he does understand why so many stores are dropping their restrictions.
It's very understandable that the companies don't want their employees to have to, take risks as being the mask police, because we know that some of those encounters get very heated.
He also feels the CDC's reasoning for the new guidelines is vague.
I would have preferred benchmarks. For example, your state, your locality has reached 50% full vaccination.
In Florida, only 35% of people have been fully vaccinated. In Tampa, 1.6 million people. But even still, Florida only saw 1,976 new COVID cases in the last day, according to the health department, compared to 6,323 new cases on April 16th. He notes a recent CDC study shows vaccinated healthcare workers aren't getting or spreading COVID much at all, which may be the reason behind the new guidelines.
The data for the vaccines working is really good. And, we've known this for a while, but it's really good to see it in the real world. I think the problem is you can't just take those data and then set them into the public at large.
That's because healthcare workers have stricter safety protocols to prevent infection, which he says doesn't necessarily represent the general public. His advice, wear a mask if the business is requiring it, and wear a mask if your kid isn't vaccinated. Heather Lee, ABC Action News.